Hello again, David Moore with Equity Advantage with Bob Nelson of Pacwest Real Estate. And once again, if you've been with us, you've seen them, you've heard my introductions, but Bob's an old friend, been doing business together since roughly 1990. Had a lot of fun, Done a lot of deals. Hopefully we've done okay for our clients. And one of the things that we talked about early on, if you go back pre-1991, unlimited IDs, buyers are liars. And I remember rifling through the old RMLS books, stack of books there, and people would be concerned about whether they should put something about a 1031 provision in there because they felt, well, people don't know what it is, and maybe they're afraid of it.
Right.
And that whole sentiment.
Or they can take advantage of it.
Exactly. Right. So that whole sentiment's gone away.
Right.
But, if we look at in today's world, you've got a situation where I would argue that a 1031 buyer is actually a more solid buyer in a lot of cases than somebody walking off the street because they've got timed events that have to happen. And if they don't get it done.
And they know the consequence of not getting it
hopefully,
done.
If they've got good tax counsel. And we had a presentation today at CCIM. I had on tax reform. I had a great CPA come in. Dale Glasser, Eisler and Company spoke, talked about things. But the bottom line is, unfortunately, not enough people have good tax counsel.
Right.
But you want to take advantage of those resources. But what I want to say is, you moderate those the property marketing sessions at CCIM. You've been doing that for years. You do a wonderful job. And one of the things that just drives me crazy, Bob's great at getting people to think about, hey, would this work? Would that work? Trying to get people together. And during that marketing session, we have people that have property looking for buyers. We have people with money looking for property.
Right.
And what drives me crazy is somebody will stand up, hey, I'm in a 1031. My guy's 45th day is next Tuesday. Now you got, 100 and some odd people sitting in the room, brokers that say, this is great. I know
fresh
this guy.
meat.
Yeah, fresh meat. So, what comments do you have along those lines as far as controlling deals? We've talked about this before, but, making sure that things are there and having people understand that this 1031 buyer is in a spot. And as a broker, how do you represent, whether you're a listing broker or a buyer's broker, what do you do to make sure you're taking care of your client?
First of all, they have to understand, the client has to understand the seriousness of the position. And I will assure you, if they're dealing with me, they will be very familiar with that. They'll be familiar with the time frames of operating within the 45th day, the 45-day period. There is no extension in the 45-day period. Technically, all you have to do is identify. If you're working with me and having me do the brokerage work on the 1031 transaction, we'll know that by the end of the second week we're going to hear, and by the end of the third week here, by the end of the fourth week here, and so forth, because when that end of the sixth week comes, that's the 45th day, we will be very close to closing. If everything has been done properly in advance, we'll be very, very close to being able to close the transaction, and that perfects the exchange. If we can close it within the 45-day period, nothing can go wrong. There's another 135 days behind that that's allowed for you to, quote-unquote, close the transaction. But if you don't have that thing under contract by the end of the 45th day, if you don't have the due diligence out of the way by the end of the 45th day, if you don't really know what you're buying, it's a train wreck. And you decide you don't like it on the 46th day, and you spit the hook, and that was the only property you identified, guess what? You pay the tax, and that's it. And I don't like to be known for failure. I don't like to be known for anything other than 100% success. So if you're working with me, it will be on those time frames.
So if you're a buyer's broker, obviously you're not going to let the seller's broker know what's been ID'd where you are in the 45th and 180th days.
That's confidential information.
On the other hand, if you're the listing broker and you've got a buyer coming in, you're going to do everything you can to find out what's been ID'd and where they are with that stuff. And the bottom line is, people will tell you it's like some prices go up beyond where they should because of 1031. The bottom line is, if somebody's looking at, like you said, a $500,000 tax consequence of a failed exchange or paying an extra $20,000 to fix something, what are they going to do?
Yeah, they've lost a lot of their leverage capacity because of the time frame and the constraints of the exchange, and they know that if they fail, they pay the tax. And it's there should be a law against paying the tax. Of course.
We've got friends that say there are, but
Yeah. So it's a very serious situation, and as long as it works properly, it's never enough time, I'll assure you. And if you're my client and we've gone through this process, you will say things to me like, you're asking for me to make offers, and I haven't seen it all. That's right. I've given you a 2-week period of time, plus whatever additional time that we had prior to the time that you sold the property that you're going to be exchanging forward into the transaction. So if I can meet with you well in advance of the time that we sell the relinquished property, or as I refer to it, the downleg property, that adds more time and more comfort, and you will feel more comfortable that you have seen enough that it works. But I go through a lot of counseling sessions, 3 of them particularly, to allow me to really home in on what you're after. Now, I don't think in terms of a property with a blue roof and red bricks. I think in terms of investment benefits. There's cash flow, there's tax shelter. If we're dealing with a mortgaged property, there's principal reduction, the fact that the tenant in an income property will be making 12 rent payments, which will reduce the loan.
I think Bob's going into the next segment here. I think he's bleeding into the next segment on investment strategies.
Yeah, sorry, folks.
No worries. See, it's all good stuff. We just want to keep talking, right? So
yeah.
to break it down, make it something that
Right.
So I think that bottom line with you, you're going to control the transaction.
If you don't control the transaction, you're heading for a train wreck.
Yeah.
I'll assure you, there's no such thing as luck when it comes to exchanging.
Yeah, and we can buy the replacement same day the relinquished property goes away.
That's right.
If it's set up right. So if you've got things, we can wire funds straight from one closing to the next. Once in a while, in certain regions of the country, we have closings that aren't done by, let's say, professional escrow companies, and
Right.
sometimes it goes into a holding
New York,
account.
et cetera.
Yeah, so then we can't do things, or if we're going east to west, maybe we've got time issues, or not east to west, west to east. We've got issues there getting things done the same day,
But that's
but it's a timing deal.
Right.
So let's pick back up with a conversation
Sure.
on next time on the strategies you were talking about.
Yep.
But thank you very much for once again joining us, and I look forward to having you back. Thank you.